Hello, Wellsprings. I know it is a 12:11, and so this is a little bit afternoon, but thanks for joining me on this very first. Facebook is messing with me, but thanks for joining me on this very first Tarot Tuesday. Yay! So I'm Beth Monholland, your intern minister, and why are we doing Tarot Tuesdays? Well, one, I love alliteration, and so it just made sense. But two, I am hoping in my time with you as your intern minister to really explore spiritual practices, ones that help you throughout your day, to share mine in hopes that they might inspire you, you inspire me. It's a two-way conversation, yeah? So, spiritual practices for some people seem really intimidating. They're like, no, I don't have a spiritual practice. That's too much work. Or I don't even believe in spirit. And oh, I don't know if I can do that. It's one more thing. But at its basic level, a spiritual practice is anything that feeds your soul, that nurtures your spirit. And so, while a spiritual practice might be prayer and meditation, those are certainly common ones, it doesn't have to be. A spiritual practice, I learned a few years ago, is anything that we engage in with attention, intention, and repetition. And so a spiritual practice could be doing the dishes. For some people, it is. It could be playing your guitar, it could be making art. And so you don't have to think of it as something new you have to add onto your life. It can be looking at what you're already doing that actually brings you a little bit of joy or peace or centeredness. And how can you enter that more fully with intention, attention, and then repetition? For me, I know that when I started thinking about my spiritual practices a few years ago, as I started a more deeply intentional spiritual journey that led me to answer a call to ministry, that led me to be here with you. What I really needed was a practice that was going to help me to do mind, body, and spirit integration. I had, for quite a few years, really given in to the Western cultural pressure of compartmentalizing my life. And perhaps you had the same experience of saying, here's my mind, my body, my spirit, and really I'm going to pay more attention to my mind and privilege the intellect the way my culture tells me to, and my body and my spirit, they're going to take back seat. Well, that took a toll on my health, and so on a journey toward health, I really needed to find some integrative practices. And I found tarot, which is something I had been doing sporadically for like 2 decades, really actually for me became an integrative practice that I could commit to daily. There's the repetition, and that I could enter with intention and my attention. So, how does tarot help me to be integrative in my spiritual practices? Well, one, it does appeal to my intellect. Tarot has a very long history. There have been versions of the cards around since at least we know the 1400s, and that history really appeals to me to learn more about it. Tarot also applies what Carl Jung, many centuries after tarot was invented, called our collective unconscious. What are those universal stories that show up time and time again across time and space and different human cultures that, yes, have a particularity about them in their different times and places, but that are still speaking to some aspect of what it means to be a human journeying through this life. So the storytelling aspect, and I love stories, and the history of tarot really appeal to my intellect, learning about it and engaging with it. But tarot really asks us to be present in our bodies. In order to engage in tarot, we have to hold the cards. We have to shuffle them, touch them, feel them, hear them. I love the sounds of cards shuffling. And if we are blessed to be sighted, the cards really are a visual experience. They ask us to look at a specific image and describe what is there. Even if you know nothing about the cards, you can engage in the cards by looking at the images on it, describing it in detail, and just saying, what do you think the story of that card is? That's actually a way to engage the cards with kids, and their intuition is so, so striking when you do that. And intuition is the other piece of the cards. So there's the mind for me, the body aspect. But the tarot also asks us then to listen to what the Quakers call our inner teacher. That small voice of intuition that our Western culture also tells us to dismiss or ignore. But our inner teacher, our intuition, our subconscious is collecting data and information all the time, collecting it at a rate that we cannot process consciously. That's why we dream, yeah? But practices like tarot and other spiritual practices, again, that ask us to enter with attention and intention into a practice that asks you to engage your thinking mind and your feeling mind at the same time. Tap into that inner teacher. So different practitioners then will enter into the cards with an intention. Perhaps it's for themselves, the person that they're doing a reading for, a specific situation, a specific circumstance that someone is grappling with. Tarot has been called divination, yeah? So some people are skeptical about that. Are you trying to tell me that the cards tell the future? And to be honest, I know some practitioners for whom that is what divination means for them. They predict things for others and themselves pretty accurately. For me, though, divination simply means at its core, if you look at its root meanings, to divine knowledge, right? Like it's about understanding. And so the intuition, the inner teacher, for me is asking me to pay attention to what I'm bringing into any specific moment. So I need to understand and know my past and the circumstances I'm currently in order to understand why I might be thinking or feeling or behaving a certain way, in order to make a path for going forward. So that's the integration for me of mind, body, and spirit that tarot really offers to me. I find it a powerful tool, a very centering tool, and I love it so much that I have 5 different decks right now. And again, people I know who are regular practitioners of tarot usually have multiple decks. The classic Rider-Waite tarot deck was developed in 19th century, so I have one of those. This actually belongs to my husband. This that I have been holding is the first deck I ever bought for myself, which takes much of the images of Rider-Waite, but the artist Juliette Sharman Burke made her own images that are really lovely. I have a deck created by an artist out in Seattle that are beautiful gold foil. I love these. Her images, because she's out in the Pacific Northwest, have a lot of Asian and I apologize, Native American in the Northwest images on them. I have a deck that taps into fairy tales, my other favorite genre. I have tons of collections of fairy tales and folklore from all over the world, and I've been telling fairy tales since I was like 5 years old. So this deck I bought recently takes classic fairy tale images, Western fairy tale images, and uses them as the images for tarot. The final deck I have that I use regularly is from an artist named Christy C. Rode. Just grab that deck. And this is called The Next World Tarot. And Christy Rode, they created images that depart completely from the traditional Western images and instead really imagine a radical world. And so they use in their art bodies of all different shapes and sizes and abilities, ethnicities, a lot of queerness in here to really imagine a world using the tarot again, tapping into that inner teacher that says, who can we be? What justice can we make? So those are my current decks. You may find that there's lots of decks that you have that you're interested in. You may know nothing about them. I am, when the video is done, going to post in the Facebook links to some resources I've used a lot and shared with other people if you want to explore getting your own deck. The best advice I have about that is to go somewhere, if you can, that sells tarot and look and feel, because again, it is a body and sensory experience to have your own deck. So that's a little about tarot and spiritual practice for me and why the two are so deeply connected. So each day when I'm engaging in my own practice, I do a 1 card draw. That's my spread. And you can do as much as 3 cards, 10, 12 cards. There's all different layouts, again, for all different purposes and reasons, for different ways to meditate and to think and reflect. I like to keep it simple for my mornings because, again, as a spiritual practice, I need it to be integrative, but also something I know I can commit to. So my daily practice is to sit and to breathe while I shuffle the cards, to pay attention to whatever my body might be feeling in the moment. Is my back a little sore? Is something stiff? Am I hungry? Are my cats distracting me? And I just let all of that wash over me while I take some deep breaths and feel the cards in my hands. I hear them against each other. And when I feel settled, I lay my cards down and I take a breath to set an intention for the day. And I just need 1 card for that. And so we will set an intention for this day. And together, the card I drew is the Hierophant. Hierophant is a really old-fashioned word for teacher. And so you see in this image, which is again drawn from classical Western, almost Greek mythology imagery, a learned, wise old man sitting, teaching, perhaps like Aristotle. The teacher is a great card for thinking about what teachers do I need in this day. Is there someone who's going to need me to be their teacher for some reason, like maybe for a Tarot Tuesday? And what do I need to, again, pay attention to? So the teaching can be an actual person. It can be a class or a topic you want to dive into. But an intention for this day, for me, is to think about what wisdom I might be able to share, but also what wisdom I need to seek from others as I'm journeying through my day. Now, I'm a grad student, so I'm constantly seeking wisdom. I'm an intern minister, so I'm constantly seeking wisdom. But whatever you might need in your day, I hope you find a teacher that helps you to center into your body, that helps you to commit to spiritual practice, and that nourishes your soul. I'll be with you again next Tuesday for more Tuesday Tarot. I'm going to teach you a little bit more about the cards, the major and minor arcana, the 4 different suits, and do another reading for you. Thanks so much for being with me, everybody. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. Have a great day and be and find the teacher that you need.